So normally when I'm on the stage, I would greet all of you with ladies and gentlemen in a very formal, polished voice as an MC. But today, this stage is so different from the others I have ever stood on because I'm here today not as the MC, but as a speaker. And my name is Phương Thảo, and depending on the day, you might also find me as an MC, a host, a reporter, an interpreter, a sales logistic officer, a marketer, or a business student. A long list, isn't it? I have done many jobs at the same time, and maybe that's exactly why I'm here today to talk about hustle culture. But before that, let's join me in this game. Clap your hands if. Just clap your hands if the statement is true for you. Okay, so let's try. Clap your hands if you love TEDx ISPH. Okay, you know the rules, okay? So clap your hands just once. If you would rather doing something or staying busy rather than doing nothing. Okay. Clap your hands if you have ever encouraged yourself or others by saying, keep going. Okay, thank you for clapping your hands. And if you clapped your hands, welcome to the club. You know, the keep going mindset, it's not just me, not just you, it's everywhere. Even with the fish Dory. Just keep swimming, that's Dory's mantra in the movie Finding Nemo. She really holds on to one purpose, finding Nemo, finding her parents, even when her memory fails her. She keeps swimming, but towards a purpose. And likewise, keep going. That became the mantra of mine, and maybe some of yours here too. But unlike Dory, I wasn't heading anywhere. I kept going just to keep going, just to run away from something that I always fear. Uncertainty. So how did I end up there? Let me tell you my story. I chose to major in international business at Foreign Trade University, which is one of the top-notch universities in Vietnam, not because I had a clear career orientation or something like that, but just because my entrance score was high enough to get in. And when people asked, what do you want to do in the future? My answer was, I don't know. But instead of sitting there with the uncertainty, I started doing everything I could, teaching IELTS, hosting events, doing logistic job, you name it. But one day, my mom gently asked me, do you want to follow your MC career after graduation? And that moment, I froze, because deep down, my answer still, I don't know. At FTU, I was surrounded by high achievers. Some prepared for their beauty pageants, some other competed in business case competition. They hustled, obviously, but with really clear goals. They want to become the beauty queen, contributing to the society with their intelligence and beauty. They want to become the great, successful businessman. But unlike them, I kept going. I still hustled, but I wasn't heading anywhere. And that is the moment I realized that I dive into hustle culture not because I have ambition and I want to achieve it, but because I want to run away from uncertainty. So the core idea here is that hustle culture, it is not just a social phenomenon that is usually connected with physical and mental health problems, but it is also a psychological coping mechanism to uncertainty, offering us instant comfort. Sounds strange, right? Why hustle culture offers the feeling of comfort? So in order to explain that, I would use the concept of locus of control. So it is a concept developed by Julian Rotter in 1954. So the locus of control is basically where you believe your control comes from. If you have an internal locus of control, you believe that your action, your behavior determine the outcome. But if you have an external locus of control, you believe that your life is shaped by luck, fate, or forces beyond your control. And according to the self-determination theory by Ryan Deci 2017, autonomy, the feeling that we are taking charge of our life, is one of 3 basic psychological human needs that is essential for our well-being. We are control-seeking creatures, especially when life feels uncertain. That is the moment when we really crave control. And what we can control, that's often our schedule, our productivity, and how hard we work. That's why we dive into hustle culture. The more we work, the harder we are, the more secure we feel. And we think that at least I'm doing something, at least I'm taking charge of our life. When I still work on it, I still figure it out. But the truth is, that control is often just an illusion. In my case, I realized that after years of non-stop hustling, I still had no answer to the question, what do I want to do in the future? So obviously, I dove into hustle culture not because I have an internal locus of control, but because I didn't, and I tried to fool myself that I had. So, how can we break free from that hustle culture? It is like an endless cycle. So how do we get out of that? The breakthrough, the result, come from a place that you might not expect, the US Air Force. Colonel John Boyd has developed a really powerful decision-making tool called the OODA loop. It is originally used by fighter pilots in high-speed combat environments, but it is surprisingly useful in this case if we want to break free from the hustle culture cycle. So let's break that down, not in the cockpit, but in real life. The first O stands for observe. So in combat, the fighter pilots need to observe the surroundings, the enemy's movements, signals from allies, or the terrain ships. So the same thing goes with our life. We need to observe ourselves, our feelings, and our behaviors. We need to answer the question, are we hustling because we want to, or because we fear to stop? If we stop, which hard feelings, which harsh emotions we fear will surface? And how do we feel when we hustled? And for me, my observed moment went when my mom asked me, do you want to follow your MC career after graduation? Because this is when all the buried feelings that I fear, self-doubt, self-suspicion, or even depression, everything surfaced. That is not just clarity, it is confrontation. It is when I dare to confront the truth that I have a lot of harsh feelings if I stop working. That is the observed moment. And thank you, my mom, for leading me through that moment. The second O, orient. So after having confronted with every harsh feelings, we need to orient. Orient here means decoding the behaviors, decoding ourselves, decoding the feelings that we have confronted. And it also means that stop decoding stillness as laziness. We need to match the feelings with each type of works. How do we feel when we do this one? How do we feel when we do another one? Busy but energetic, or busy but exhausted. That is when we reclaim and redefine our own feelings. Then come to the next step, decide. Decide doesn't mean like knowing your final step and making the really final decision. It is just like deciding on your next step after the observation and orientation phase. And for me, in this case, I have decided on my strengths, my weaknesses, my core values. After observation and orientation, I tried to answer the question, which core values, which strengths am I having? And for me, after doing many jobs at the same time, I realized that my core value is connecting with people. Not just through the MC scripts, not just through the microphones, but through stories, emotions, and shared humanity. That's me, not just the work. And at the end, act. Doesn't mean choosing one, only one, and quitting every other thing. No. It is just like choosing with more intentions. Having decided on my core values, I try to find out the career orientation that align with that core values. So I continue my teaching because I can connect with my students. I continue hosting events, but I turned out shows that didn't align with my energy. I quit the sales logistic job that kept my calendar full, but my spirit is scattered. And more importantly, I dare to let the gap in my calendar instead of feeling guilty about that. And then the loop continues. I observe, orient, decide, and act again. It is not a linear process, it is a cyclical process. And we start again. So when hustle culture hits, we not just need more effort or more control. What we really need is more navigation. So at the end, we can see that we always fear uncertainty or out of control. But now, of course, we know that we are being aware of the illusion locus of control. We still keep going because it feels right at first, because, doing something instead of nothing is still better, right? But now being aware of the illusion locus of control and knowing how to break free from the cycle of hustle culture as a coping mechanism to uncertainty. We still keep going, but now not from a place of fear, not from a place of uncertainty, but from a place of awareness. So we still keep going, but not just keep moving, but progressing. Not to outrun the fear, but walk towards clarity. Thank you.